The other day, we talked about how the ladies on The View were taking really low blows at Marianne Williamson. And, you know, you could be forgiven for thinking, oh, they really just don't like Marianne Williamson. But that's actually not it. What they're doing is what they always do, which is endlessly shilling for corporate Democrats. I mean, The View is like corporate Democrat apologist central. Any sort of establishment mainstream Democrats, they will ride or die for them. They will lie for them. They'll whitewash their record for them. That's what it is, right? Usually they have one or two token conservatives on there who kind of tepidly push back on their stuff and making even dumber points. But there are no actual lefties on The View. It is just corporate Democrat hacks. Well, now we have just chef's kiss, perfect example of exactly that. Here's the ladies discussing Kamala Harris and how, she doesn't get her due. She doesn't get treated well. And we're going to listen to them break down her record, and then we will laugh and respond.
Listen, here's the bottom line, guys. Joe Biden's going to be your nominee. Stop talking about how old he is. And Kamala Harris is going to be your vice president. So stop fretting, stop wringing your hands, and get behind your ticket, because on the other side, the alternative is Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis. Yeah. So you tell me what you prefer. And I love this. I love that they said in this story, I don't know if it's true, that Madam Vice President is not responding to the calls from Senator Warren. Good. If they are going to be doing this, don't show up to fundraise for them. Don't show up to campaign for them. Don't pick up their phone calls. Get with the program. Listen, you know what they're doing? They're playing right into the hands of Fox News. Yeah. Fox News every single day goes after Kamala Harris, trying to portray her as inept and some kind of bumbling fool. She's not. That's not who she is. And so Democrats have got to come out and reinforce Kamala. They've got to stop playing into the hands of these people who cannot stand that she is the first woman of color vice president, and don't want her to succeed. And by the way, her husband is great too.
I have to say, though, I'm a little surprised. I mean, when she was announced as the VP, I was like, it's all over. She's so accomplished, highly qualified. I'm a little struck by the lack of accomplishments in the policy portfolios she's been given. The border is a big one. It's not a win. No one's going to win. We haven't done major in border security or immigration reform since the Bush administration, but she is tasked with overseeing it, and the border crisis keeps getting worse. And I feel like the Biden West Wing isn't necessarily setting her up for success by giving her things that she can go out and champion at a time when voters, I get the age is not the most important thing, but if you're electing someone who's an 82-year-old in 2024, you need to believe that the vice president is able and willing the next day to be the president. And I think there's some concern about just the lack of policy accomplishments that she's made as vice president.
I'm surprised that there's concern. I think it has a lot to do with this. She's a black woman. Black women get everything done. We've saved this country's democracy for
She's obviously
for
amazing, but what specifically?
But, well...
Like, no, I mean,
where shall I start? I mean, she was in the Senate, of course.
But no, I mean, as vice president, of course,
she's highly. The Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, she was the face of Roe v. Wade. I mean, the list goes on and on. I'd like to ask you, what did Pence do? What did Pence do except put his lips firmly on the butt of Donald Trump and still is fighting a subpoena to testify against Trump? I mean, when Pence finds the cojones to do something, then I think we can talk about a vice presidential...
It does feel a little like... get in there. Okay, so
I want to shove a fork in my eyeballs and pry them out. I want to dump my head in a giant pool of battery acid after listening to that. Jesus Christ, man. So just so you know, what led into that conversation is apparently Elizabeth Warren said something that Kamala Harris took offense to, and so then Kamala was not answering Elizabeth Warren's calls. And I saw the clip of what Elizabeth Warren said. It was nothing. Like, there was nothing about it that was offensive, that was over the line, that was too critical of Kamala. If anything, it was the opposite. If anything, it was embarrassing because it was like trying desperately to be deferential and say, oh yeah, she's good, bro. And, I guess it just didn't come across, so Kamala took offense to it. These people are petty, narcissistic, vindictive. They're supposed to be the most serious, policy-focused people in the entire country. They're supposed to be leaders. They're supposed to have a vision, and nothing could be further from the truth. It's high school. This is high school. Like, you know, bickering. Jennifer hooked up with Donnie, but I like Donnie. This isn't fair. Yeah, fuck that hoe. Like, this is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about here. So let me go through. I jotted down a bunch of stuff. I like when, what is it, Anna Navarro. Just, by the way, she's not a lefty. She's not even a liberal. She's not a Democrat. And she does this whole, Biden is going to be your nominee, so stop talking about his age and stop criticizing him. Excuse me, who invited you to the lefty party? Who invited you to the lefty liberal group? Me and my nominal allies and semi-allies don't care about your opinion. Don't care about your opinion. It's just this foregone conclusion, like, just accept it. No, you actually have to fight to change things and try to change things and then let the chips fall where they may. But this condescending attitude of like, just shut up and accept it. And oh, if you criticize him, you're playing into Fox News game. So what? We can never criticize any Democrat ever for any reason, even if it's totally substantive, because people on the other side are really bad. How vapid and tribal is this approach to politics? And then there's the argument, well, Kamala, she's not inept. She's not a bumbling fool. Yeah, you know that you're on solid ground when you have to say those things, right? It's like when Nixon was like, I'm not a crook. And then everybody was like, wait, what? Why'd you say that? Are you a crook? Like, why would you say that if there weren't accusations of you being a crook? So yeah, is Kamala a bumbling fool? Is she inept? She ran for president and had to drop out before Iowa. Now, by the way, that would be forgivable if, for example, she came out of total obscurity and nobody ever knew who she was. She was a senator. When she jumped into the race and when she was considering jumping into the race, she was polling among the top level of candidates. And then the second she opened her mouth, boom, plunged. Look, this is a great example of it right here. I want everybody to go back and look at the 2020 DNC. Her speech, and this was in the heart of the COVID-19 pandemic, like the heart of it. You have all these issues that we're dealing with, economic issues, pandemic issues, so many things. Her speech was all about herself. So, and let me tell you about me and my mom and my family and more about me. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about anybody. Your job is to lead. Your job is to be policy focused and try to fix people's lives. And then, of course, you got the classic, the real reason anybody criticizes her about anything is that she's the first woman of color VP. And by the way, her husband is great too. How do I respond to this stuff? For real. I'm asking you sincerely. How am I supposed to respond to this? There's it's so outside of the realm of reasonable debate and discussion. I honestly don't even know how to respond to it. Like, this is just fawning, drooling. It's pathetic. It's sycophantic. By the way, this is the only group in the country that is staunchly pro-Kamala. I mean, she's a black woman and that's why. Okay, check the numbers. Pretty sure black women didn't like her either. So she can't really use that as a shield. Now can she? And then the final point is I thought it was so over when they picked her as VP because I thought, oh my God, she's so accomplished. She's so accomplished. And what did she achieve? She achieved, well, she was Attorney General. She was of California. She was a senator. She's VP now. And she, Inflation Reduction Act? That wasn't her. That wasn't her. Well, she's the face of Roe versus Wade. What? What does that even mean? By the way, even if she was, which she isn't, we don't have Roe v. Wade anymore. It got overturned by the Supreme Court. So how's your leadership going? And it's not like the Democrats saw that and said, hey, immediately, let's pass something that would codify Roe versus Wade into law through the Senate and through the House and have the president sign it. That didn't happen. So if your claim was true, oh, she's the face of Roe v. Wade, why did she fail repeatedly? When Democrats had a supermajority, They still didn't codify Roe versus Wade. You're like, she's the face of Roe versus Wade, which would mean she's the face of failure because we don't have Roe v. Wade anymore. But putting all that aside, that's not even true that she's the face of Roe v. Wade. What does that mean? That is totally made up. Oh my God. Anyway, look, you guys get the reason I'm covering this, I want you to compare and contrast how they talked about Marianne Williamson versus how they talk about Kamala. Kamala, who's done nothing. To be fair, it is true that Biden has given her like assignments that are just like hopeless, right? Like giving her the border. Like, yeah, you take that one. It is a way for him to sort of take accountability and put it onto her for that one. But even given that fact, she's still done a bad job. And so somebody who is an abject failure, who has super duper low approval ratings as VP, and look how they talk about her versus Marianne Williamson. Look, I think the thing that frustrates me the most is that other networks, other shows, they don't really come as advertised. They try to tell you like, no, we're trying to be neutral. We're trying to be objective. And then they're massively biased. Everything they say is dripping with bias. Just be upfront about it, man. And if they were upfront about it, we'd have much less of an issue. If they told you upfront, look, we're rah-rah Democratic establishment all day long, it's like, okay, that's your opinion. You're leading with that so people know it. Now you say whatever you want. But they don't do that. And it's the same, by the way, with CNN. It's the same with MSNBC. Marianne Williamson, so since she launched for president, she's gotten invitations from a lot of different outlets. You know who hasn't sent her a single one? CNN. Why is that? Why do you think that is? Because they're going with the strategy of, let's not give her a fair shot. Let's not try to be neutral or objective arbiters. Let's not do our job. Let's take let's make a concerted effort to just act like she doesn't exist, and that'll hurt her campaign the most, which is what we want to do. So let's do that. You are a news network. Your job is to get the truth and information and facts out there. And if somebody's running for president, have them on. Have on freaking Vivek Ramaswamy. He's running for president. They're not. Why? Because they are biased. They are biased. The difference is they're lying about it. I tell you what my biases are up front. I'll tell you my exact political ideology, which politicians I'm partial to, etc. Because I'm honest about it. I'll tell you my bias. I'll tell you where I lean. They won't do that. They'll pretend like, oh, we're neutral, we're serious, we're objective, and then everything is dripping with bias and contempt. So there you have it. The View, saying and doing very View-like things. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.